next meeting.
All right. Good afternoon, good evening, and as Jim Carrey would say, good night. We are, it is Thursday evening, about 6:30 right now, and we are at the delicious and delectable Libertarian owned and run, what's this place called?
Decent
Pizza.
Decent Pizza. And our buddy Jacob is not here, so we're just taking advantage of his meeting space.
Absolutely. Yeah, so discussion for tonight is the gun bills. You have the House bill, which is HB 7101, and the Senate bill, which is SPC 7026. So it's been an interesting day. The Senate bill was actually set to be debated and talked about and read on the floor. They actually tabled that motion, which is a very important thing, and we can get into that in a few minutes, but they tabled that motion, which means it did not get brought up, which means it did not have its second reading, which means it will be going all the way through this weekend and will not have its second reading until Monday because the House meets tomorrow. So that is important to note because that means that they are unhappy with the way that this legislation has been written. They don't believe that it can get passed. They probably didn't have the votes.
Or there's something that somebody said, because I talked to Zach, I said, look at that, the rules chair went into a back room. We all hear about backroom deals.
Yep.
I think we really witnessed one, and they had the governor come with some of the victims of the school shooting or family of the victims, and that was pretty unusual that they would do that, kind of trot that show out and then not vote on the thing or read it. So we believe there's something going on behind the scenes based on the way that they just postponed it like that, and after it was going through all that rigmarole.
So it's going to be an interesting fight up here, but I'll introduce everyone in case you guys are not familiar with us. I'm obviously Zach Detweiler, your wonderful membership chair, and like
Wonderful.
Greg Peel will probably be wearing about 15 different hats here soon. This is Ryan Ramsey. He is the Regional 4 representative. You have Mr. Liberty Man here, my comrade in arms all this week, Mr. Chris Rose.
Don't say comrade.
Don't say comrade. He is our District At-Large 2 director, and then you have Commissioner Jim Turney up in Altamont Springs, who is also from Seminole County, our sister county. So we are here. Jim actually randomly was up here legislating the same thing we were, and he saw us post and everything like that. So he has joined our roundtable discussions tonight. So we are up here, and if you guys want to go around the table, maybe give 2 minutes about what you guys have been thinking. It's been an interesting effort up here. We went and saw senators today. I delivered 15 letters, as I had said before. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. This thing is not dead yet. We are still fighting the good fight. It is going to go to next week. It may go till next Friday, which is the last day of legislation, March 9th, unless they call a special session. So if they cannot get this bill passed before then, they are going to have to call a special session if they want to get this thing done. So it might be a longer fight than we thought.
My thoughts, a number of things. I'm always a how-to guy. I'm a tactics guy. So my thoughts after witnessing what I saw, for one, confirmed a lot of things that are very basic fundamentals. Things like emailing counsel. We had one moment where we went to a senator's office and he had our former House candidate Allison Foxall's email right on his desk and said, "Oh yeah, I was just about to get into these and I saw that she had emailed me." Chris has a t-shirt. So your emails do matter. They do get read, and the fact that so many people in the last few days have now been emailing and calling, we believe, is leading to some of the controversies now. People worried about it when they might have been letting it go on grease skids through. I would like to also point out that the Republicans are betraying a fundamental thing, and I think that Libertarians need to capitalize on this, and we need to make sure that all these Republicans that vote for this stuff are really run over the coals, and we need to challenge all of them in their seats based on the Second Amendment. It's one of the most powerful issues among their base, and I think it's a great way to punch through going forward.
Yeah, and for if you guys don't know, Torres, who actually was one of the senators that I went and visited their office, I talked to his secretary, and she's been taking phone calls all day. She's taken over 100 phone calls already. If you're not familiar with Torres, he is basically South and East Orlando, and then basically all of Osceola County. So South Orange, and then all of Osceola County. And taken over 100 phone calls. 90% of them are against this bill for one reason or another, but both sides think that this is a trash bill, that they're trying to push it way too fast. And so now we're going into legislative review process, and that's the name of the game, guys. That's why we're up here.
Because they start with emotions, and now that if we can get them to start talking about facts and principles and implications, we're starting to win.
Yep. And you know, obviously we've been in Senator Perry's office, and you know, Chris went and visited him again today.
Again.
Yeah, again.
We was on the in the gallery of the floor of the entire Florida Senate, and his desk is on the front row there. It was towards the west side of the gallery where we was at, and he looks right up, and we made eye contact, and he kind of locked on for it seemed like a good 30 seconds. So he recognized me. He knew I was there. We went to his office after the Senate adjourned, and I talked to Lauren, I think her name was, his secretary there. Anyway, and I she had a familiar voice, and for that matter, I guess so do I, because I told her who I was and told her what I was there for. And I said, "Are you the one who answers the phone when I call the Tallahassee office? Does it ring right here?" She said, "Oh yeah." I know you. Yeah, that's me.
You asked where your cowboy hat was?
Yeah. But guys, that's the important part, is they are getting these messages. It's not just like, you call and it's like tech support or something like that for Dell, where you just go on an endless loop of the runaround and stuff like that. When people from their constituency call and they email and they do all this stuff, they are getting this stuff. They are listening to it, and it is making them scared, because when you have 100 people that are calling and emailing them and doing all this stuff, believe you me, they know that there's 10,000, 100,000, people behind you that are thinking the same way, and they are afraid. This is an election year. Every single one of them are afraid of losing their seats, and if they're not up this year, they will be up in 2 years. And so
Bradley is up for term limits. He's not even running again, but in 2020 his term is up. But I got angry when he was like, they were like, yeah, he voted for it and he's probably not going to change his mind. I started to get up. I was like, no, sit down. I'm a veteran too. And he tried to pacify me, but because he knows I'm going to go back to the district and stir up the pot, and which I am.
Well, I was having some conversations as well today, and my sense of it is that this bill is getting a lot of support, and there are questions and some defects in it. So I think what we're going to see is we need to pay attention, because I think it's going to get some rewording to get rid of potential problems with the legislators. And so I think it's going to require us to pay attention to the details that get changed over probably by Monday, because they're running out of time, and time is on our side in this particular bill. So let's hope that they run into more problems than they might otherwise, since this is a Republican governor's initiative. It's getting a lot of Republican support where it normally would not, and of course the Democrats are looking at it rather favorably as well. So we've got an uphill battle. So it's not over yet. You'll have another chance if you've already contacted your senator and legislator, a House member, and those in the neighboring districts around your area. You're going to have another good excuse to give them a contact next week when the reworded, revised version comes out, which it seems that it will. There's no guarantee of that, but I think we're going to see some revisions, and then you've got another excuse to call and punch through again, and you're going to need to do that, because it's
keep the pressure on.
Really tight. Well, maybe not tight. We don't know yet. I haven't seen any whipping on this, so I don't know where the numbers are. But it's certainly something we need to be active in.
But they don't have the numbers yet.
I want to make.
I hope you're right.
I want to make a point too about the reason when you see a guy like Rick Scott. Now, I go back a long way with him. I spoke with him a lot on the campaign trail on his first term, which was 7 years ago. This guy was the only person that answered the campaign query about whether he would support. Or Kerry said, "I believe in it. I'll support it if you sign it on my desk." And I was talking to Stu, and I said, it was disappointing to hear somebody who I had formerly was the only guy that would talk straight on the Second Amendment to support this. And he goes, well, he's running for Senate, and he wants to take more centrist profile because now he's going to have to get all of Florida, you know, in his camp. So these guys are willing to betray their principles just to get elected. And he said the guy's got a $150 million pot to run. They're not going to challenge him in the primary because they'll lose because he's got a bunch of money. And this is how your laws are being, made. So it's important we can show them.
We have to
call them out about how they're doing this, and they let the voters know, because populism is the only thing you can do to overcome money. That's how Trump beat the establishment Republicans, so we need to be kind of point all that stuff out.
And not only that, you have to be
Brian.
You have to be targeted about. We got another one coming in. We're doing a live broadcast right now, talking about the legislative action going on. So one of the things that you need to do is you need to be targeted about how you present your arguments against or for a bill, depending on who you're talking to. So I talked to, I think it's Bradley. He's District 11. He's he oversees both the POPCA, or not Brad, Brady or something like that.
Brady is
It's District 11. So he oversees both the POPCA and Pine Hills. So you can kind of tell there's a difference in the the demographics that he's playing there, and he's a Democrat. And so I didn't go into his office and try to strong arm him on the fact that he's probably asking for an assault weapons ban, or he's probably asking to get rid of carry in the schools and allowing teachers to have guns and that kind of stuff. What I talked to him about is the Fourth Amendment violations that are going to affect people like the people in Pine Hills, where cops are just going to start busting down their doors because now they can use any excuse to go in and start taking their property or doing this or doing that. I talked to him about the fact that people in his neighborhoods are often single moms living on their own who need defense, who don't have someone who's 21 to go buy them a gun and give it to them and stuff like that. And so there's things that are going to affect his communities that they're on our side. I don't believe that people under 21 should not be allowed to buy guns, but how I present the arguments to different senators, whether they're Republicans, Democrats, or they don't know what they are yet because they're eventually going to be Libertarians, we really need to look at how you frame that. So depending on what your district is and depending on who you are and stuff like that, maybe craft your arguments or craft your emails a little bit to kind of play into that ideology of, my opinion is correct, but let's softly talk about that opinion. Don't try to browbeat them with your ideas and stuff like that, because no one...
I said it before, I said play dirty. If you're in a heavily Democratic district, complain about teachers having guns.
Yeah.
You can kill the bill anyways, because and you create infighting that could stall it and force it out of the deal, and then the emotional plea will be gone next session, and hopefully it'll die there. So, politics, you have to look at tactical issues sometimes, and use your tactical issues to make your principles accomplish.
We're trying to get into government. We're trying to be legislators. We're trying to, have influence and stuff like that. That's a long game. That's not a 6-month game. That's not a year game. That's a 5-year game. That's a 10-year game. That's a 50-year game. We're going to be raising children that are going to be raising children that are going to be fighting the exact same fight that we are fighting right now. It's not a short-term game. So, these guys trying to pass through bills and do all this stuff quickly and stuff like that, that's great for the short term, but long term it's going to kill them, and we're going to take advantage of it.
Pressure to power.
It is. Yep.
All right. Got a lot of work to do, guys.
Oh my gosh, so much work.
And you out there too.
And yes,
you out there too.
Do not give up. That is the important part. Do not give up. We've still got to fight. It's going to be a long weekend. Every senator that I talk to is closed doors in their offices, talking to lobbyists and legislatures and other people from the House and from the Senate.
A lot of the people we went to visit were in some backroom meeting when we got there.
Doors closed, or we walked in and they knew who we were. We'd already seen them and stuff like that.
A couple doors got shut because we came in.
Slammed them right in our faces as they were coming in because they did not want us to hear what they were talking about.
Or see who was in there with them.
And really what it is they're reworking the bill right now. They are trying to change what is in there to try to make a passable bill. Now, do they continue with the same garbage that has been in the bill, or can we influence enough people on both sides of the aisle to change things like the Fourth Amendment rights, from making it reasonable to making it a plausible threat or something like that? Changing things where maybe it's not 18. One of the things that I brought up with Brady is maybe instead of a 21 ban, why don't we make it that anyone under 21 has to get 40 hours of training before they can own a gun? Or, if it's someone under, who's still going to high school, we restrict high schoolers from purchasing and owning guns and stuff like that.
That does not mean that we want that.
No.
That means we're giving them something to go to these meetings with, and then that might create a bunch of other arguing, and then we can muck up the works for them.
But if we can get the verbiage out of and I've been preaching this all along, if we can get the verbiage changed in the bills, if we can push back a little bit and push back a little bit. Well, this hasn't worked, so now they need to push a little bit more. They're going to keep on,
or we kill the mental health
laws.
stuff so they can't just arbitrarily take guns. Then it's easier to repeal the 21 requirement by raising the big argument about how you're of draft age and they can draft you and send you to war, but they won't let you have a gun and create a backlash next session. And then we got one thing to get rid of. Then they're not going to argue that bill on the basis of we're going to let crazy people have guns.
Because every senator and every House representative and stuff like that, each one of them, whatever you've been telling your representatives, they're going to come with these little pieces, this little breadcrumb here, this little breadcrumb there, and then you're going to have 15 people that show up with the same breadcrumb and say, hey, we need to chip this off the bill, or hey, we need to chip that off the bill. And eventually these conservative-run, both House and Senate, is going to look at these bills and go, okay, too many people are pushing back against this bill. We are going to have to chip some of it off if we are ever going to get this passed. Or they're going to say, hey, Democrats don't approve of this. We're going to have to chip this off the bill in order to get this back. And soon we're going to have a bill that no one wants to pass, and it's going to go to a whole new legislative session. So put the pressure on. Put the pressure on them. I mean, that's what we are here for, is to put the pressure on them. You got to do it. You know what? Tomorrow, during your lunch break, find 5 people that agree that this bill is trash. Go to your local office. I will post all of the Orange County offices up there, the in-person offices. They have to have someone manning that office. Show up on your lunch break, bring them written notes and say, we are not for this bill. We oppose it, and we need you guys to do something about this bill because it is trash. It is absolute trash.
We've got the very successful recent Up Yours LPF fundraising campaign.
Yes.
And I've been conceptualizing something that I would like to kind of throw the idea out, and I'm hopefully going to bring this to fruition in coming weeks. I want to take a dump on your legislators. Every morning when you're on Facebook, going to the bathroom with your morning constitution, you're going to send that email to your legislator. All right? And we're going to make that easy for you. We're going to craft, hopefully with our new Legislative Action Committee, we're going to try to keep you posted on this legislation, and we're going to try to make it accessible. So if you can't come up here, like we're doing, if your job doesn't permit that, or you got young kids and you can't find a babysitter, be part of the constant pressure of calls and emails. And there's also a kind of an exponential thing, like a call is worth like 10 emails, so if you have call them on the way home from work when you're stuck in traffic. You want to listen to that crappy radio? Come on,
believe us when we say there's a reason that we are up here in force. When you show up with 4, 5, 6 people into an actual office up in Tallahassee, and you say, hey, I actually live in Orlando, hey, I actually live in Gainesville, or out in Bradford County or in Seminole County and stuff like that, and they're like, you drove all the way up here? Yeah, we've got actually 10 more guys walking.
And I'm coming next week too.
We've got 10 more guys walking the halls right now doing this exact same thing in all their offices. They're like, man, okay.
So we're going to be asking for donations. We're trying to make sure we do it legally, whether it be the PAC or whatever, but and whether we have to have Zach register as a lobbyist or not. I've been talking to him about that, but if you can donate a few bucks to help keep us up here, we're going to try to build a network of couch surfers and places to do it on the cheap and guerrilla style. But we need to have a presence for libertarians in this legislature. There's 2 functions of a political party: elect candidates and affect legislation, and both are ramping up in the LPF, and we are going to give you guys a reason to want to support these efforts, and we're going to see the fruit of these efforts. I believe that.
We're making that happen now. We went ahead and said, you know what, we need this.
We're lighting the fire. We just want you guys to help us throw logs on it.
Yeah, guys, and remember, listen, it's not necessarily about always having to be there. It's great that we can come up, and I've got free time. These guys took off work and stuff like that. Sometimes you can't always do that. Sometimes it is, we need those monetary donations. Sometimes it's just talking with your,
when
your
we
fellow
leave
coworkers
their office
and stuff like
after
that.
talking to them, and the next day they get 50 phone calls.
Exactly. It's a follow-up.
They're going to go, okay, these dudes have some horsepower.
Yeah, these guys
because they have a formula. They translate, like every phone call is like 100 constituents.
Yeah.
That are thinking the same thing, right?
50,
or whatever the numbers are. But the point is that a lot of people think it's just a feel-good effort, but it's really not. It's really not, and especially if it comes following this personal interaction that you have. I was all pissed off in Bradley's office. Now I'm going to have his people in his district fired up in the coming days, and they're gonna know what's up. And they're gonna be like, oh crap, don't piss them guys off. They're gonna want to work with us.
Yeah, when they took 50 to 100 phone calls, they took 50 emails. You had people showing up in their offices and stuff like that. you know, Allison Foxhall's campaign, there were, I think, 42,000 total votes in that, and that was a blockbuster amount of voters and stuff like that in that district. I mean, you had some precincts that were at 95% voting. So when you, I mean, 42,000 is the high end, and you're talking about these guys getting 100 phone calls and them equating that to, you know, possibly 5 to 10,000 people out there who are dissenting. You're talking about 25% of their voter block. They are scared. They are absolutely scared, and that's why this thing is getting rewritten. I talk to every single aide, and they're like, listen, we're pouring the coffee right now because we're going to be here all night. We might not sleep till Sunday. So they know what's coming. They've been getting it. They've been getting it. Tomorrow is the last day that their offices are officially open. You guys need to bombard them. You guys need to get out there. Tell your friends, hey, listen, they don't need to be libertarians to agree with the arguments that we're doing right now. And, you know, if they're Second Amendment guys, you know, get them out there. Tell Republicans, tell Democrats that are concealed carry owners, tell them to email them.
Challenge these people and run. You know, Allison's, some people, you know, might be discouraged by a 3% election return after all that effort. I sat in a senator's office, or a Republican today, who said, I watched those debates, and me and my wife said, man, I would vote for her if she was in my district. Okay? Now, how many other people? And he said the reason people probably didn't vote for her is because they were so whipped up in the Trump versus, you know, the referendum on that election happened to be, you know, basically people were voting for or against Trump. Yep. And really, you know, but that election has a lot more power, even if it didn't show in the vote tally. I mean, you know, when you hear that from a guy like that, it's very inspiring.
And remember, guys, you know, there's maybe only 35% of the Republican Party that is so pro-Trump that it doesn't matter what Trump does, Trump is always right. You have the rest of these guys that are getting so far pushed out of their principles. It's all
over my social media. Like, man, I was with him up until now, but this is bullshit.
Yeah, you know, people want to vote on principles. People want to be a part of something where people stand up for something again. They want to be a part of something where opinions matter. It's not just we're going to follow with this group mentality, because let's be honest, group mentality is great until the group doesn't go with you and it leaves you behind, and then all of a sudden you're stuck holding, you know, the bag and the bill at the end of the day, and guess what? Now no one's voting your way, and you don't have any options in your party anymore, so you're left out to dry. So don't think that because someone isn't in your party that you can't have a conversation and agree with them on a lot of principles, because I think we're going to find before 2020 that a lot of people start caring more about their principles than they do about their party.
And the way that the 60s and 70s, you know, New Left and hippies built the Democratic Party into putting their guy on the throne, which was Obama, was by coalition building. So right now we need to focus on all the people pissed off about the gun issue and let them know that the Libertarian Party Executive Committee voted unanimously for open carry, that we're for 100% constitutional carry, you know, when they're being abandoned by the Republicans who are supposed to be their champions. And this translates to other issues, whatever, you know, issues in coming months or years come, we need to coalition build by reaching out to people that are left behind by these major parties. So right now is extreme time to make sure that you're focusing on your friends and family and social media efforts on making this point made that we are the ones that are actually defending the Second Amendment, and share these videos and everything else.
And the Democrats too. It's not just the Republicans that you can snap up with this, because
if they're for guns, that's what I mean. Whatever issue it is,
blatant disregard of the Second Amendment. But you know, the Democrat Party claims to be the party of civil liberties and the party of the minority.
These rules could ostensibly be used to take firearms rights from minority groups, you know, in the hands of the wrong politicians.
You know, you get a complaint.
Which is how gun control came about in the first place.
They have the right to come and break into your house and look for whatever. They don't have to take no for an answer. They can illegally search and seize anything that you have in there in their quest to verify that you don't have any firearms. So this bill really offends everything across the board, and it's getting support from both sides, and it's getting opposition from both sides.
Think of the amount of nonviolent drug convictions in some of the minority communities, and they could say drug is a mental health problem. Which it is.
Yeah, and that's what part of what Brady, you know, when Brady and I were talking, you know, he kind of was hesitant towards me. He knew who libertarians were. He knew what stance we were taking on this and stuff like that. And then I looked at him and I said, listen, one of the biggest issues that I personally have with this is the Fourth Amendment violations that are going to occur. We have sheriffs right now that might be friendly, but who knows what sheriff's going to get voted in. And all of a sudden that sheriff doesn't like some people in certain communities, and all of a sudden they're using this rule or this law to come in and start making Fourth Amendment violations, and now you have a whole population or a whole community of people that are going to jail because they were illegally searched and their property seized because the government found a way to circumvent things. So believe
Up
me,
till now, there's no way to disbar your arms without due process. I mean, it's a natural right, and that's
Yes.
how it's supposed to be. And like we heard the story, for those of you that attended the LPF convention, from Marcos Moraes, our chair, when he was running for office as a very young man and having the harassment by some other law enforcement. I mean, this is a can of worms that could really, really be, the implications of how bad this could be used. I mean, we haven't even had time to conceptualize it. We had less time to conceptualize it than those politicians in D.C. have to read the budget, before they vote on it.
It's definitely been a rushed bill, and that is
Which is another scary thing.
That's one of the things that is you can use. That's an argument you can use when you're talking about a talking point. It's a rushed bill.
How many of our vets that
Let's
they say
chill
have
out,
PTSD,
figure it out,
take their
and
guns,
come back.
you know?
If you really want to do
have a-
something, don't rush this through.
Yeah, and how about that, guys? You're 18 years old, you sign up for the military, you go use guns for the next 4 years of your life, or 6 years of your life, or 3, depending on what you sign up for and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden you come back, you're finally 21, you can own guns, back in the country
You
again
go
and
see,
stuff
get
like
some
that.
help about
Yeah.
some bad stuff you saw.
And then all of a sudden you have PTSD, and now they're restricting you from buying guns, even though you were allowed to use them in other countries against other people, but apparently you're not sane enough or healthy enough to use them in your own country against people who
yourself.
want to do your harm. Yeah, it's a can of worms that are getting opened up, and yes, the under
And these are ugly
21,
worms.
yeah, the under 21 does have an exception for military personnel and their wives. However, that exception can be taken away with mental illness. So, and the mental
And
illness
besides that,
clause
if
in
you're
it is
draft
loosely
age,
defined.
you're subject to being conscripted at all times.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to own a gun. I mean, it's offensive. So now it's only cool if you're going to kill on our behalf, but not for your own self-defense. It just offends the very, very basis of our Constitution and our Bill of Rights and the things that our founding fathers fought and died for. And if we let this go, we're letting go something that there was a lot of blood and sweat and tears to defend and to establish in the first place, and we can't let it happen, guys.
Yeah, and as I've said before,
At least we're going to be here, and they're going to know we were fighting it.
yeah, if you're
And that means
18
something, too.
and you can get tried as an adult, and this is the one argument that I keep making to people, and I want to impress upon
a
you
good
guys
one, too.
to
Listen to
always put into your emails, if I am 18 years old and can be legally tried as an adult, which means that the U.S. government and your state government will recognize you as an adult, then why as an adult can you not make reasonable and responsible decisions to own a gun? If they are going to consider you an adult and anything that you do illegally, felonies and everything like that are going to follow with you for the rest of your life, why can't you make those decisions? Either you're responsible enough to know what's right and wrong, or you're not, and if you aren't, then we need to take everything away, which I'm not for, or we need to realize that you can't just pick and choose what you want people to be responsible for and what you don't.
Gamble, you can get a hooker in Vegas, you can buy a cigarette.
You can get married, you can start a business,
all that.
you can do any
Yeah,
sorts
you
of
can enter into
things.
any kind of legally binding contract, a mortgage loan that lasts 30 years, but you can't have a gun. Come on, man.
Yeah, guys, if
No way.
you are going to legally be considered an adult
Not on
in
my
the
watch.
United States, then you should have all the rights of it as an adult. There's no exceptions.
And when they start chipping away at one right,
Then
know
they-
there's other rights coming next.
They're going to take
and
more.
God only knows what they're going to come up with next.
Yeah, guys, and it's not that it might come quick or it might come slow and stuff like that, but eventually they will look at things and go, you know what? Maybe someone's not responsible enough to do this or that till they're 25, or they're this age or that age. And listen, as much as racism is a problem in this United States, so is ageism. What's to say that after you turn 65 that okay, well, your facilities aren't good enough anymore. And
Hey,
there's
wait
enough,
a minute.
Hey, there's enough people whose
Oh, your
hands-
eyesight's bad. We're going to take your guns too, Jim.
your eyesight's bad. Your hands are shaking and stuff like that. You shouldn't be gun owners
Yeah.
now. So anyone who's over
Now-
65 no longer can own a gun. Well, how do you
Pretty
feel about
soon,
that
we've
now?
chipped away at half of the people that can own guns in the country, and it won't take long. Once you let the devil put his toe in the door, buddy,
Yeah, guys.
he's coming in the house.
Just because it's this argument this week and you might agree with this argument doesn't mean that next week they're not going to make an argument against you. Okay, it's once
Not
they use
to be
one
crass,
argument and
but
it
they
works.
sound to me like I'll only put the head of it in.
Yeah. once they make an argument and it works, guys, they're gonna keep on using that formula to get other things. They're gonna keep on using that formula to slowly chip away at things. And we're not trying to be conspiracious here. I mean, we are literally watching.
Oh no, we're historians.
We are literally watching legislation where they're just taking a piece off and they're taking a piece off. And if you look back 50 years and some of the civil rights stuff, you can say, okay, there were lots of rights taken away and we gave some back. Well, guess what? They're starting to take the rights right back. And just because one group of minorities got them doesn't mean they're not trying to take them away from other minorities.
They've always worked on the incremental model. The incremental model was plotted out in the 1920s by the Frankfurt School Institute of Social Research. It's always been that idea. It's the frog in the boiling pot of water. If you drop him in the boiling water, he freaks out and jumps out. If you heat it up slowly, he doesn't notice and he gets real tired and falls asleep and he's boiled, man. And so that's the vigilance that the Founding Fathers spoke of about these rights. You have to remain eternally vigilant. You have to notice what they're doing, and that's what we've done and what we're trying to articulate here, and that's what you need to articulate to these legislators out there. We know what you're doing, dude. Yep. We're not going to let you do it. It is
an absolute long game. We are not here for the short game. We are here for the long game. So, maybe not on this fight, but there are going to be thousands more past it. And if you aren't here, if you don't have people reading the bills, if you don't have people watching over them and looking into the minutia of all the muck that they put into these things and stuff like that, it's easily going to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going. And until we can get people into office and until we can get people to actually fight these bills on the floor, there has to be voices out there that are fighting these things in the populace. Because believe you me, the government is as scared of the population rising up and saying, we don't agree with what you do with, as much as you are of the government taking your rights away. So it is an equal balance, and you guys need to remember that they aren't these all-powerful holy saints that, have this magical power to wave a wand and do things. Before they got elected, they were you and I. They were individual citizens that just had ideas.
The first time that I came to Tallahassee in 2010, by the end of that session, which ended in 2011, I had passed a comprehensive gun rights bill that did a number of things that put teeth in the law and forced municipalities to purge their gun control laws that for 2 decades had been illegally on the books, and all these things. And we did it without any money, and all we did it with was coming up here and getting in people's faces and finding a few allies to introduce the bill and crafting and creating some media. So we can affect libertarian ideas in the legislature before we even have people in the legislature. And I came to the party with the goal of having our own guys to introduce bills, but we need to keep a two-front war going. Yeah. And we need more effort up here, and we appreciate everybody who has followed the effort and donated to help keep Zach up here and supported all these efforts, and we hope you share them and spread them and join the team, because we're going to be asking you guys to form a angry mob of phone callers and emailers and throw a few bucks here and there towards the effort so we can keep up the pressure.
Yeah, guys, we don't need pitchforks. I think our party's pretty much good with keyboards. So
yeah, and we found $30, $40 Airbnbs to keep Zach put up. Nobody's we're not the Republicans. We're not putting them up in the Emerald Grand for $1,000.
Yeah. I've got a bed, a bathroom, and an iron. That's pretty much all I need. Yeah. So we're gonna fight the good fight, guys. Any closing? We'll do a recap and then
something else that I have a big problem with this bill on, and I think I could probably voice concerns about every part of it, either outright on the subject, on premise, or how what might be possibly even a good thing, how it's being implemented. But it's brought to my attention that one of my friends has PTSD. He's a veteran. I didn't know he had been diagnosed, but he volunteered this information to me because he's scared to death right now that he's going to lose his access to his weapons. They're going to come take his weapons, and under this bill, they would have that authority. All it would take would be one phone call to say, "Hey, I don't know about that guy over there," and they come investigate you, or maybe they would probably even have the authority to go through medical records, which is another big can of worms that you open there.
We have the arbitrary terror watch list.
You want the government just pouring through a bunch of people's medical records, and not even with people filing a complaint against you, just knock on your door one day. Hey, so we were going through some paperwork and we found out that, you know, back in 2010 you was diagnosed with this, that, and the other, and we need to check this out. So
you've been on these medications.
If you remember, the FBI
like
was infiltrating anti-war groups. Okay, the FBI has infiltrated the Libertarian Party's first meetings back in the 70s, and that's, you know, proven. So, you know, I mean, we're talking some about eliminating the IRS. All of you are extremists if the way they want to frame it, and they could say, and they could call all of you a reasonable threat if they wanted to. You know, so by taking away these,
don't mess with their money,
right? You know, so what better way to neutralize libertarianism than to make you lose your gun rights if you try to join the movement? I mean, this cat, you know what I'm saying? Every time I pull a worm out, it gets uglier.
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, the other thing is how expensive this bill really is.
$500 million now is
500. Well, they're saying 400 million now. Well,
which means 700 realistically.
Right.
Well, and realistically, so let's actually talk about that.
Thing was 689.
Yeah. So this 400 million, 500 million, whatever it's going to, about 300 million of it is actually going to be spent on SRO programs. So now they're going to have a mandate of a minimum of one SRO armed officer in every single school in the state.
I remind you that we had like 6 officers cowering in fear while these children were murdered. So we're going to spend $350 million on people we already know won't work.
When we could put security systems in there, when we could put lock systems in there, when we could put training programs in place.
We could buy an AR-15 for every teacher. Okay?
Or whatever the school system in that local community thought was better. It's like, okay, well,
maybe
I
the
think
school board should decide in the local community.
Yeah, well, instead of a mandate, instead of a requirement, why not say, hey, so school boards
at least they could do is just
option.
fund the local school board and say, here's some stuff for safety programs, and then you could decide at your local, you know, which is an argument we can make for localism and home rule. Like, no, we don't want you to tell us what to do. Say, hey, because, you know, we're, you know.
Well, and isn't that the way that should be? We should have local control of our issues. If we're inside of a major city like Orlando or Miami or Fort Lauderdale or something like that, where there are millions of people, maybe, you know, having ARs in the hands of every single teacher might not be the right idea. If you're out in Bradford County where, you know, you're out in the middle of nowhere, maybe it is a good idea. Who knows?
But if it takes you 20 minutes to get I think all the teachers in Bradford probably at least 45 maybe.
But it needs to be localized decisions. Home rule. It needs to be
community standards.
Communities figuring out their own way of doing
government
things.
Should be done at
they
the
know
lowest
better.
Level.
They know better than the state does on what they need, and you
the
can't
only
change
place
that.
I am for state stuff is like with our firearms things. That's a fundamental right. So the city cannot ban guns, and then we have people trying to visit us from other states. You know, they get arrested in one town,
and they're instant felons because they don't know the law of a tiny
town. The state should regulate
town.
things that involve basic natural rights, or if like it's a watershed up where I'm at and it pollutes everybody downstream, I can see a case for it. You know, and that's what we need to focus too, is like pushing all these things back to the local. And that's another great argument against this bill.
Yeah, but getting back to the money portion of it, it's going to be about 400 to 500 million to start. They want to spend 300 million on SROs. They want to spend about 67 million on mental health, and then 67 million on something else. I forget what it was. It eludes my mind right now. But you're talking about $500 million off the bat, instantly starting out spending on this bill. Then once you've gotten SROs into all these places, you've gotten all these programs and everything else like that, it's going to be it's going to be on the local governments to find money and to start taxing their people even more to maintain these now
every year they're going to bring it up and they're going to be like, but it's for the children, right? And it's going to be the hardest things to stop the growth of the budgetary stuff, right? Because now you're taking away from protecting the children, but now they're going to demagogue the crap out of it, and it's going to be this budget snowball, another budget snowball.
But it's going to be taxes, guys. It's going to be more taxes on more taxes on more taxes. And yeah, you know what? Maybe we do need to get mental health professionals back into schools to help children have an outlet to communicate to people again. Maybe we do need to teach parents how to actually teach their children how to communicate again, or, you know, actually show up to PTA meetings and stuff like that. But to spend $500 million on a program that is really not going to make our students any safer.
It's going to make it worse.
You know, we're spending a lot of money on something that
people are going to
we
be
don't
scared
even have.
to seek mental health because they're going to be scared to lose their firearms and they're not going to get the help they need.
Yeah.
And then they're going to end up in a bad position.
But it's not
people.
just that. I mean, people have a problem. People have this stigma against mental health anyways. And really all of these problems boil down to you're talking about children who were oppressed, who were bullied, who had bad things happen in their lives, who were, all just this whole massive amount. They had no one to talk to, they had no one to go to, and then they're angry, they're bullied, and what do? They see videos online, they see all this other stuff like that, and what are they going to do? They're going to act out because they have been taught in our society nowadays that how do you deal with someone who opposes you? You go straight at them. If you're a Republican, all you do is just break down Democrats. You don't have to have a logical argument with them. You just bash them into the face until they're beaten down. Same thing with the Democrats. The Democrats just social war you into a corner and saying that you're a racist and you're all these other things until they basically make you mute because you don't have an opinion anymore because you're a racist, even though you aren't. That's what they do, and so it's just this: you're either my way or the highway mentality, and really we need to open up lines of communication and stuff like that.
That old libertarian solutions.
Hey,
provide them the solution.
Yeah.
I'm going to rake some people over the coals, but I'm going to be providing solutions as well. And,
but we're talking about passing bills on a situation that is 2 weeks old, and we don't even know what happened. We haven't even had an investigation yet to find out exactly what went on that day, how it happened.
Anybody know what happened in Vegas yet?
No. Yeah. Have you heard anything about Vegas? It's been 8 months now. So before we go rushing into things, let's actually take a second to go back and evaluate how we actually did things wrong, so that we actually can pass legislation that will help it go right next time.
When you're talking about this amount of money, it boggles the mind as far as
$500 million.
Guys.
It's not even. It doesn't even flutter the heart anymore.
They haven't even proved exactly how it's going to be implemented, what kind of time frame is going to be set up. There haven't been any studies done to figure out. Okay, so this is pretty efficient.
So we got the homestead exemption doubled and these tax reform things. These are now the fallout of this might not even be on your gun control radar. You're gonna be like, why did my property taxes just go up? Why are the tickets now another $100? Why are the tolls going up another $1 every day? All these things,
It's all about this. It's just been trying to push it through, and it's so much bigger than a Second Amendment issue. It's everything. It's
the growth of government is the growth of government is the growth of government.
Yep.
And we have to fight the growth of government. And when it clashes with a natural right enumerated in the Bill of Rights, the Bill of Rights doesn't give us our rights. It tells us. It's what we said. These are the rights from our Creator. These are natural rights enumerated. They don't even have the authority to make this law. To be honest. With you.
Well, and let's be honest, guys. Right? It was close to the new year. You don't go on a diet if you don't want to go onto a diet. The government's not going to put itself on a spending diet unless the government wants to go on a spending diet. And the only way that the government's going to want to go on a spending diet is if we as the people actually make it happen. We as the people stand up and say our number one concern is the fact that...
I'll buy a pistol. I don't need your $500 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll go down to the school board PTA meeting and we'll make sure that we'll have a program to arm vets and give an extra $50,000 a year to carry guns.
I'll volunteer 1 day a week to go to a school and secure it. I promise you, I will go into one of those rooms and take down a shooter if we have one. So
I already been shot. Screw it.
Anything else to finish up before we get done, so we can let these good people get back to their dinners and their lives?
I'm just thanking them for taking enough time to even listen, and I hope we've lit a little bit of fire, and I hope you guys continue to support this effort. And I want to thank Jim and Chris and Zach and everybody for joining me up here, and invite all of you to come and join us and learn a little bit about how things work and join this effort. And if everybody took a day off a month and came up here and we all kind of rotated, we could have 3 or 4 of us here every day the whole session. It's only 3 or 4 months a year anyways. You guys have got vacation days and stuff. Why don't you donate up yours donate 1 vacation day a year to come and join this effort.
Well, we're going to fundraise to get Josh Folsom a couple futons so he can start being the
we have a fundraiser idea. We're not going to lay it on you yet, but Zach came up with a great idea. We'll come up with that in a minute.
Yeah. So stay tuned anyway. You guys, there's more news next week on this for sure.
Yeah, guys.
And so we need to still have you engaged.
Yeah. The fight isn't over. As as I go, and I'll be getting updates all throughout tomorrow. I'm going to be back at the Capitol tomorrow, and then you know, reviewing as everything comes up online, as the new drafts of the bill come out and everything like that. I'll be reading through them. If anyone is planning on coming up this weekend and stuff like that, you can coordinate with me. If I can help you out in any way, let me know. Otherwise, we will keep you guys informed. I will give you guys drafts of the bills and summaries and stuff like that, as I've been doing, to keep you guys apprised. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us. If you want to get involved, let us know. We are going to fight.
If you have ideas that we haven't even thought of, please bring them to us. This is the new open idea pool LPF.
Yeah. As Mark Galab, our new fundraising chair for the state, says, you know, I'm just a money guy. I need idea guys. If you know idea guys, send idea guys my way, and I'll go find the money. And it's absolutely true. If you got ideas, let us know, and we know the people to put them into action. So pass them on along our way. Come and volunteer. Come and get active. We're gonna have events, you know, out in Orange County and Seminole County and stuff like that, out in the region, to get you guys active.
Got any dirt on these guys you want to forward we can use against someone?
I don't get into those politics, but I might know some
I'll
people
Roger
that might.
Stone them.
Guys, keep calling, keep writing emails.
Yeah.
Go to their district offices, because with the exception of maybe, I think, 2 people that I've talked to, there's nobody up here in Tallahassee that really cares about you and your rights. They cares about what's best for them, and what political avenue they can take to further themselves in either this career or the next. So you have to let them know that you're paying attention, because most of the mindset up here is that we're so far removed, even by having the state capitol all the way out here in the Panhandle, is that we can pretty much get away with murder up here, and they're trying to.
Make them have that thought.
Let them
oh man,
know.
if I do this, I'm going to hear from them damn libertarians.
They already know our names up here. We're gonna make them remember our names for a long time to come. So yeah, please reach out, get active, and
make them remember your name.
Yeah, I will catch you guys on the flip side. I'll try to do another one tomorrow morning, maybe around 8 or 9 o'clock. And if any changes happen tonight, I will definitely post those. We thank everyone for watching and reaching out, and we will see you guys later.
Exist to resist.